Welcome back to One Comic Book a Day, where we're covering Adventure Comics 166, The Town That Stole Superboy. Now, this maybe is one of the most confounding issues of Superboy, or any Golden Age comic I've ever read, in the fact that I don't quite understand why Superboy is making the decisions he is making. I have reread this story at least 2 or 3 times to try to understand it, but still, it doesn't quite make sense. Maybe because of how they structure and depict the overall problem for Superboy, as in what is supposed to be the threat, except it never feels like a threat, and he's not exactly doing anything about it for most of the story. And even in the worst Superboy stories, and stories where he's acting weird or he could have gone about this easierly, I still understood the decisions he made. It still seemed like something anybody, even a super person, would understandably make. But when in a story, characters are making decisions that they only make so the story can continue to happen, then we get some problems. And this one actually needs these decisions to happen because there is no story without it. And it's just such an odd decision. And I think it's compounded with the fact that Superboy doesn't explain why he makes this decision at the moment. So the neighboring town of Hadley, never brought up before, probably will never be brought up again in Superboy, is claiming that Superboy actually belongs to them. Their evidence is mainly that Superboy has done more heroics in the past year in Hadley than Smallville, which is apparently true, but there's a reason that's neither here or there. It doesn't really matter if he's done more heroics in Hadley. He still belongs to Smallville, if a superhero can truly belong to anywhere, especially a superhero like Superboy who can be across the world like that. They sue in a court case, mainly over any kind of tourism dollars over Superboy. And when Superboy is actively put on the stand and should be able to put this arrest his answer, he's taken away by some sort of fire dynamite threat happening that turns out to be fake. When he comes back, he just kind of goes like, well, I can't answer this question because I kind of need to solve this. And even in that moment, he doesn't quite explain that he needs to solve this, that there's this overall threat. He goes, well, they're just going to be unhappy. I'm not going to give an answer. So Hadley wins the case and Smallville loses $1 million, which is tens of millions of dollars today. They're pretty unhappy with Superboy for 2 reasons. They're losing a lot of tourism dollars and they just lost a lot of their money for a Smallville. So you think Superboy will be dealing with why he made this decision. And partly when he made this decision, he made it seem like he couldn't cause any distress to both sides. Either way he picked one, someone was going to be upset. And that's just a stupid reason not to make this decision. I mean, it doesn't really matter where you belong to, and it actually hurts Smallville more if they lost this case. Like he's a freaking alien from Pluribus. Guess he is an alien. But that's not how Superboy works. Then the story kind of becomes about him getting one over on Hadley for trying to pull something on him. But it's not really even that, and that comes way too late. We've set this up way too much. We're like 2/3 of the way through the story for him to suddenly just be having fun with his superpowers against them. And he's not really having fun with the superpowers. What he ends up doing is building a glass house so everybody can just stand around and watch what he's doing in Hadley, which ruins their tourism dollars because they apparently can't get people to pay for this if Superboy is giving it for free. I'm pretty sure they could have figured out some way, so they're fairly upset. So in an agreement for Superboy giving them the house so that can be a tourist attraction, they give back the $1 million and everything is resolved with the guy who set off the fire to begin with, which is not a way that it was directly handled. In fact, that guy seemed like a criminal, so it doesn't feel like that was actually dealt with. Once again, I don't get the decisions made in the story. It is a superhero story. Have him deal with something heroically instead of having him make a deal with a glass house in a situation that he never needed to make a deal with if he actually had dealt with it at the moment. Instead, he just made a strange decision and just was very passive until he can pull one thing over on them that wasn't even all that impressive. So once that's resolved, well, it's resolved. And not a very exciting moment for Superboy. And once again, I have to ask, even in a story where it's a lawsuit over what city Superboy belongs to, we still kind of failed to find a reason for Superboy to exist in the story. It's, God, I don't want to use contrived again, but once again, we are in a forced story where Superboy just makes decisions so the story can exist, but no one in the right mind would have made. Okay, that is it from Adventure Comics 166, The Town That Stole Superboy. If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe to the bell icon to get notifications when a new video goes up. It is Monday through Friday, but Fridays is Bat Friday, where I cover a Batman story now, the Detective Comics or Batman. And until next time, let's ponder the question, whatever did happen to the boy of tomorrow? I feel like a glass house is going to be easily destroyed or vandalized, especially in a tornado rich area that is Kansas. I guess we haven't actually established Smallville in Kansas yet. Okay, have a great day.